Thanks for listening to the AC Wildcats podcast. I am Mike Luke, joined by the boss, Saul Bookman. Hello, Saul Bookman.
Hello, Michael Luke.
All right, we've got a lot to get to this show. We are going to talk Arizona basketball roster, expectations, all kinds of things. But initial thoughts before we dive into the nitty-gritty, Saul. Caleb Love is back. What say you, my friend?
I'm excited about it. Listen, I know he didn't finish the tournament the way everybody would have liked, and I get it. And I get that people are upset that we lost Joson Sanon to what would have been BYU, but then, now ASU. I get it. But what I do know is I like what I know with Caleb Love. I like that he is an All-American. I like that he was the Pac-12 Player of the Year. I like that he hit. Like, I think we have short-term memories sometimes. He hit the biggest buckets of the season to start the year over some quality competition. Like, without Caleb Love, we probably lose like 3 or 4 more games against quality competition, and we have nowhere near the ranking that we do going into the tournament. Like, right. So I think sometimes we get lost in what have they done for me lately. We also love, I mean, love, and this is not just a U of A thing. This is widely across the board thing in college athletics. We love the hope of potential, but like Caleb Love is Caleb Love. Like, I know what I'm going to get with him. So I'm excited that he's back. He's going to be a tremendous asset for this team. And if he improves over what he did last year, it can only get better, right?
For sure. Now, there's a bunch of stuff. We're going to break this down in totality. One thing, though, I do want to say is everybody out there that, is beating me up saying, Joson Sanon keeps tweeting that he's coming here. Guys, I've been in the game a long time. I'm not just going to make something up to tell you. He was never coming here. This was something used for the highest bidder. I have no problem with that. We'll get into that in a second. This is business-related stuff, but he was never coming here. So I'm not just making that up out of the clear blue. Regarding Caleb Love, there are some people, though, that would prefer Joson Sanon and Jamari Phillips. I'm going to make the case as to why they're wrong. And again, I like both these. I like both their potential. But here, listen, when you're dealing with high school kids, you don't know. We've dealt with, look at ASU in the past, for example. Josh Christopher was a top 15 kid. Came in, averaged 12 points, 3-4 rebounds, 3-4 assists, whatever the case may be, went off to the NBA. Arizona's had that with Kobe Simmons as well. The odds of Joson Sanon being an All-American next year are far less than they are for Caleb Love, who was already an All-American this year. And we also need to factor this in as well. There is a massive difference between an 18-year-old and a 23-year-old. Just think back when you were 23 and when you were 18, especially if you hooped or anything, you're bullying that 18-year-old version of yourself. Saul Bookman played basketball, and Saul Bookman, I think, can vouch for this.
1,000,000%. At 18, I could not compare to who I was at 23 for sure. Like,
right.
And also you have a better perspective on the game itself. Like, there's a learning curve that would have happened with Joson had he been able to even start, and that wasn't even a guarantee.
Right.
Hell, from what I'm hearing at ASU, that's not the guarantee either. So, there's a lot of things that could go right or wrong. And I'm not saying that Joson is going to be some scrub by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he will be. I think he's going to be a good player, but I know what I get with Caleb Love, and I know the development that he's shown. Like, listen, he improved dramatically, even from the year prior at North Carolina to this year with U of A. Like, he showed some improvement. He showed that he cared. I love the fact that he came back. I love the fact that he's raising some money for Tucson kids too, and part of that comeback. Like, listen, Caleb Love is bought into Tucson, and I think we need to buy into him.
Right. And honestly, the coaching staff and his teammates love him. There was no coincidence that if you looked at these players' social medias, from guys who are already here like KJ Lewis to guys who are not even here yet in Carter Bryant, they were all very, very excited. It wasn't the fakes. It wasn't the fake tweets. They were very excited. And this coaching staff loves him. That is a big part of this as well. The coaching staff very much wanted him back. The rap that he got, I think, at Carolina, that he wasn't a good teammate, this and that. Maybe that was the case. I don't know. But you can only, if you're an Arizona coach, you can only go by what you know at Arizona. And he has been an ideal teammate. And honestly, there's some things that they want him to they want him to work on. And he's got some things that he can work on. I can tell you by talking with some people, they want him, and Saul and I have talked about this all off season. They want him to be able to get to the bucket more. and they think that that will improve his NBA draft stock. Because let's be honest here, this is not a guy that should just be floating around the three-point line, and they will tell you behind the scenes, we probably should have encouraged him to get to the lane more, to get to the basket more. I think you're going to see a more efficient Caleb Love. I think you're going to see him probably get in that 5-6 free throw realm. And Saul, when you can do the kind of stuff that he can do, that's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the whole point of this is that Caleb Love went to go get evaluated at the NBA, and the feedback he got was that he should stay in school and continue to develop. And as a 23-year-old, he has to, do everything he can in terms of taking that advice on and becoming a better player. Part of that is the athleticism at the rim. Like, it sounds weird to say, but if you look at, like, let's just say a raw prospect like Bronny, right? The way he attacks the rim physically is a little bit different than the way Caleb Love attacks the rim, right?
Right.
And I think Caleb Love could use a little bit of time to get into that weight room, get those legs a little bit stronger, and find that finesse at the rim a little bit more. And I think if he does that, it just makes his all-around game even that more, fantastic. And so I think that accompanied with more consistent outside shooting, I truly believe Caleb could find that consistency from the outside. Like, I'm good. And again, like, I just want to say this one time. Joson Sanon is a phenomenal player. He's a really, really good player. Don't get me wrong. I don't know what he's going to do at ASU. I don't know what he would have done here at U of A. I think Caleb Love is exactly who we know he is, and then we hope that he develops to be a little bit better this year, especially down the stretch. And I think that that's not an unrealistic, expectation for us to achieve. Joson Sanon might go on to be an All-American at some point, but I don't think it's going to be within the next year or two if he stays at ASU past 1 year. And so that's the thing I keep going back to. I just want us to pump the brakes a little bit, and we certainly don't need to go on Twitter and bash Joson for doing what he thinks is in his own best interest. And I don't think anybody has to look bad because he left. Like, it is what it is, man.
We're gonna get into that in a second, because I have some interesting. I agree with you, and I wanted to expand on that one a little bit. But now let's talk about Caleb Love going into the Big 12. Listen, Arizona. We're going to talk about this more, but Arizona is going to try to get Will Riley. They're making a full push for Will Riley, 5-star kid who is rated similarly to Joson Sanon. That would be very, very interesting if they do get him. We will talk about him more in coming weeks as we get more information. But going into the Big 12, you have your 8-man rotation. And we've been talking about this a bunch. You've got Jaden Bradley at the point. You got Caleb Love at the 2. You got KJ Lewis at the 3. You've got Trey Townsend at the 4. You've got Mount Crevis at the 5. You got Tobe Awaka as kind of your supplemental big. And then you've also got Anthony Del Orso. You got Carter Bryant. That is a nice 8-man rotation. Now, they do want to add another guard. We will continue to talk about Will Riley, and I think they will add another player or two. But right now, that feels like a top 10 team, and that is a perimeter. Then that is a perimeter is built for the Big 12. Again, when you're going into something like here, Saul, like we talked about, where you got 5 of the top 10 teams in the country, give me an All-American who has been to a Final Four, who has been through the ringers over the 18-year-old, and that's no disrespect to the 18-year-old.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Unless that 18-year-old has physical attributes that are just, you can't recruit. Right. Like you just can't recruit and you can't find. Then maybe I disagree a little bit. But outside of that, what are we doing? Like,
if we're talking Kevin Durant or LeBron James, it's different. Right.
Well,
exactly.
Even if you want to take DeAndre Ayton when he came here his freshman year, the physical attributes were all there. He was a phenomenon. Like, you're not going to find many guys like DeAndre Ayton as a freshman at the U of A that looks like a grown-ass man. Like, that just doesn't happen very often. So to think that Joson Sanon would have come in here and went up against a team, like, think about Houston. Think about Houston. Like, let's just say U of A's first couple opponents, Houston was one of them. Houston has some grown-ass men on their squad. I think their whole damn team is just about over.
They're 20. Like 25.
Yeah,
everybody in their starting lineup is 25.
Eighth-year seniors. They're all built like a truck. Like, dude, that's not easy to compete against when you're 18 years old and you still got to find yourself. Like, so Caleb knows how to navigate those spaces. He knows how to handle those kind of players in those difficult environments, and that's what you need when you're playing against the big dogs in the Big 12. This isn't a petri dish, man. It's not time to experiment. Like you gotta bring it every single night in the Big 12, and waiting for guys to develop against Oregon State and Washington State is no longer. So you got to do it now.
Right. And honestly, the other thing too, the COVID senior is still a thing. So you're still dealing with somebody, you're still dealing with some of these players. Like Jermaine Couisnard was 26 years old last year. I'm not even kidding. You have guys in college basketball that are 25, 26 years old. That is a massive, massive difference. Heck, we're not even talking 22, 23. We're talking 25, 26 at some points. So you got to remember that this is a good thing for Arizona. We should all be very happy about that. Now, I want to talk about the other two, but first, Saul, let me be honest with you. I did not go to Circle K yesterday. I try to make it every single day. I did not go to Circle K yesterday. Guess what I did, though? I made up for it today. I got gas and I got a bag of chips, just like those tasty, scrumptious chips you have behind you. Saul Bookman, when was the last time you went to Circle K?
Yesterday, I got gas at Circle K.
All right. So
roster.
That is what we like to hear. And Saul Bookman is part of the inner circle. This is true.
Yes.
Yes, so is Jacob Franklin. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. All right, now, the BetMGM Sportsbook app. We were telling you yesterday, I've been telling you all off season, people are still behind Arizona on the 7.5 wins. You need to hop in on the BetMGM Sportsbook app. This is another one of these ones. You will thank me later. Sign up for the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Use code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the mobile app for at least $10. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for details. Let's hear the great Shane Diefenbach with the disclaimer.
Bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
All right, now let's talk Joson Sanon. Let's talk Jamari Phillips. We're in the NIL era. I have no problem with people going to the highest bidder. I honestly don't. If that's what they want to do, I have no problem with it. They've got to make a business decision. These are people that are making business decisions, and you're talking at times about generational money. Joson Sanon was never coming to the U of A. He was always going to the highest bidder. He was a lock to get into or to go to BYU. He could not get in for a variety of reasons, but it also means that he's going to ASU. So when, if somebody thinks I'm bashing a kid for going to the highest bidder, I don't. Nobody knows here. I'll never know what it's like to have $2 million thrown at me to play basketball or whatever the case may be. So, like I said, I think some people thought I was taking a shot at the kid when in actuality, it's the exact opposite. I have no problem with a kid going to the highest bidder, Saul.
No, there's zero problem at all. Like, I'm fine with it. And I know there's some people that are judging him for going to the highest bidder, but he's 18 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, folks. Like, if I'm 18 years old, think about when you were 18 years old. If somebody said, hey, I want to give you $2 million to go do that, hell, $200,000 to go play basketball
right.
At this place or that place. Like, are you going to do it? Yeah, you're going to do it. And you're going to do it with a smile on your face all the way to the bank. We can judge kids all we want, but like, until we've been in that position and understand like what the reality is of that situation is, it is hard to comprehend that kind of money being thrown at you to play the game that you grew up loving your whole life at the highest level. Like, I'm totally cool with it.
You've also got to understand too, in this day in NIL, unless you're a school like a Kentucky that's kind of got unlimited money, you also have to be able to navigate where your expenditures go. Let's use Umar Ballo, leader of men, as an example. Umar Ballo got paid $1.2 million. Guess what? Arizona, and I'm just throwing a number out here, Arizona can have Mount Crevis for $150,000, $175,000. That is, you've got to start looking at it. And I know some people don't like it, but that's just the way it is. You've got to start looking at the return on your investment. Would you rather allocate $1.2 million to Umar Ballo, or would you rather put $175,000 into Mount Crevis? Kind of the same thing with Joson Sanon. When it came down to it, guess what? Caleb Love is probably going to make northwards of $500,000 this year. Probably somewhere in that. Guess what? If it comes down to paying Joson Sanon or it comes down to paying Caleb Love for a season, they're going to pay Caleb Love every single day of the week because that's what they're going to do. And they know that. That's just the way it is, Saul. This is a business at this point, and I think people need to understand that there's a lot that goes into this.
You have to look at the return on investment. You have to. You don't know what that return on investment is going to be with the freshman coming in out of nowhere. You know what you're going to get with Caleb Love. Like, that is an easy decision, especially for less than half the cost, right? Like, and whether we like it or not, like, and I hate how this is all like shifted everything across the country for sports. I don't like it at all, but it is the reality of the situation. And so as a program, you have to evaluate and you have to think about, do you want to invest your money in star players, but only have like one or two of them? And then you got to fill the rest of your roster out with, guys that maybe are not up to that Big 12 standard, but they've been decent in other conferences? Or do you get a well-rounded team all the way across the board that is a solid, fundamental, solid team that can get you to the tournament and maybe possibly to the Final Four? You got to make that decision. You look at something like, Connecticut, they've got a little bit of both, but they've been fortunate to be able to find that nice little groove and develop their players to a point where they can win back-to-back national championships. Not everybody's in that same boat. Not everybody's figured that out in that kind of time frame. And essentially, you have to do what's best for your program, and you got to do the smartest thing for your program.
Right, exactly. And you've also got to look at the fit. Now, again, I'm not going to bash Joson Sanon again here, but Joson Sanon wants shots. He wants to be in the NBA in a year. Again, not bashing the kid. I get it. He wants to be in the NBA in a year. If you go to Arizona, you have drastically different expectations as a team than you do at, say, ASU. No offense. But with they can't necessarily promise you what Bobby Hurley is going to be able to promise you from a shot perspective, because you're going to have other dudes on there that have the same exact goals as you. So you've got to be able to keep that in mind. And when it comes down to a money and when it comes down to a fit, those are really, really big parts of it. Also, shout out Loudon. Come say hi to me when you see me, dude. Also, now let's talk Jamari Phillips for a second. This is an entirely different situation. Jamari Phillips wanted to play. Jamari Phillips wants to play immediately. His camp has made that very clear. Arizona couldn't promise him that playing time. So again, you go somewhere else. Another one. No harm, no foul. I wish the kid nothing but the best. I think he's going to be a good player. I very much like his father. I like Jamari's game as well. But we're also kind of in a win now mode, and players want to play. That's just the way it is. He's probably going to end up at USC, and I wish him nothing but the best. I mean, this isn't rocket science. Some kids just want to be able to play.
This is when I wish I was behind the scenes and I could hear what the U of A coaches and the coaching staff was saying to Phillips about, his potential role on the team, not only this year, but also moving forward. And as a parent, I understand you want your kid to play. I do. But what's the long-term outlook here? Is it to get to the NBA? Because if that's the goal, and I assume that is, then you want to be a part of a program that has shown the development over the years to get players to that league. So why would you leave U of A knowing that you have to earn your keep in the early going? Like, the best programs are going to make you earn your keep. Like, they could promise you, listen, man, coaches lie all the time. They could sit there and say, like, yeah, you're going to start, man. You're going to start. You're going to start. You're going to start. You're going to start. And you're looking at the roster and you're like, but you got like 2 All-Americans coming back and the defensive player of the year. And you got like, okay, if you say I'm going to start, I'm going to believe you. And then you get to the season, you don't even come close to starting. Like, we could have done that, but they didn't. They said, no, you're going to have to work to get your spot. And I think that's okay. But Jamari wanted to go somewhere and play immediately. That's fine. But there's a sacrifice to going to USC. And it's going to be traveling across the country 89,000 times a season to go play in cold weather games against teams like Wisconsin and Purdue. Like, are you going to enjoy that? I don't know. We'll see. You're a West Coast kid. I find that very hard to believe.
One thing, too, that I always caution people is, and I'm just saying this in general, but it doesn't, if a kid decommits, it doesn't help the kid at all for anybody to go bash the school. It doesn't, because if you're a school and you're looking at a kid later on down the line and you're like, well, this is what happened when they decommitted before. Is that something I really want to deal with? It just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Just move, like I said, move on, wish everybody nothing but the best on both sides, because the Arizona's not going to bash anybody. So it just doesn't make any sense. And I've never really understood that. Again, I get that sometimes you get upset because everybody's parent in this day and age thinks that their kid is Kyrie Irving. and that they're just trust me. I mean, everybody thinks their kid's Kyrie Irving. They stare at rankings, they stare at things, and they think their kid's a different position than they are, all kinds of stuff. But it just does nobody any good. And I always say that it doesn't do anybody any good to bash the school, because it's only going to come back on the person that has nothing to do with this, and that's your kid at that point. So I always caution against that.
Yeah. Again, like Joseph says, I think it's fair to call out U of A if they did lie, though. Same energy for any other school. Like I get that. However, like there's a difference between lying and
things change in life too.
And telling kids like one thing at one point, and then there's a sudden shift, and now you have to kind of change the story because maybe you didn't have a couple options that you thought you were gonna. Like when this all started and Jamari was here, there was a decent chance that Caleb Love was going to be gone, that KJ Lewis might have been gone, hell, even Jaden Bradley might have been gone, right? But and then we didn't know what was going to happen with Boswell, right? So those are 4 significant changes that could have happened. Well, now 3 of those 4 came back.
Right.
And now you don't really need Jamari as much as you needed him at first. And you can't promise him and guarantee that he's going to get as many minutes as you once thought he was going to be able to. So I don't think it's necessarily lying. It's just saying, hey, I'm being straight up with you. And I do believe Tommy is straight up with the kids. I do believe that. I do believe that he's like, hey, as much as I would love X, Y, and Z to happen, this has changed, and that's why this is the situation.
Right.
Okay. If you don't like that, that's fine, but that doesn't mean you got lied to. It just means that the situation changed, and maybe sometimes it's unpredictable.
And again, like you just said, you put it very well. Life changes. Life comes at you at different points. Again, the coaching staff didn't believe at midseason that Caleb Love was going to be coming back to the U of A. By the end of the season, they had a pretty good idea that he probably was going to be coming back to the U of A. So you got to be able to take all of that into account. One parent I want to give a massive shout out to here, and this is a guy that's been through the through the ringer, played obviously at a high level. His brother was a McDonald's All-American. Is Carter Bryant's father, Deshaun. He is first of all, he's a very good follow on Twitter. And we've had him on a number of times. And I asked him, I was like, do you have any goal? Do you have any time frame for how long you want, before Carter go into the NBA or whatever? And he said, no, man. He said, that's all. He says, we'll take that one step at a time. I got full faith in Tommy Lloyd. He said Carter chose Arizona because of Tommy Lloyd and his development. And he said, I'm going to stay out of this one. And if that time comes, then we'll obviously have a talk with coach. But that's where you also see too some of the people that have been through the process, that know the process. Again, he played at Long Beach State. His brother was a McDonald's All-American. He was just a refreshing when you find parents like that know at the end of the day what exactly they signed up for, and trusting the process, Twin Mama, trusting the process.
Yeah, you're not coming to some bottom feeder program here, right? Like, again, I don't understand why you wouldn't trust that process if you've seen it play out for multiple players every single year to get to the league, right? And I think Tommy Lloyd has proven that. The Arizona program by itself has proven that years and years and decades, right? So if you're Carter Bryant, you got to trust the process and understand that you're a high-level athlete, high-level player, and if you do things the right way, you're going to find yourself on draft night, as a lottery pick or in the first round. And so that's the goal, that's the target. And I do love that perspective, right? Like, what's the rush here? Right. You're getting paid. The difference between now and back in the day is you weren't getting paid back in the day, or at least not legally. Right. And, so you never knew, like, if you tore your ACL, is that it for you? You just have no idea. But now you're getting paid, and you're getting paid pretty good. So what's the rush? Go through the system, go through the development process, and find yourself in the NBA at whatever time that you choose to go. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And parents that have unrealistic expectations because they have their own self-interest in mind. And I'm not saying that this is Jamari. I'm not saying this is anybody out there. I'm not referencing any particular parent whatsoever. But I do know that there has been parents that have thought about their kids in a certain light and refused to see anything but that light because of their own self-interest in getting them to get to the league to make that money, to make life a little bit better for themselves. And that's not the way you need to approach it as a parent. And I'm not telling anybody how to be a parent, but as a parent, I would just let my kid go through that process. I would advise them whenever necessary, or whenever, they ask, hey, Dad, I need some advice. I don't know what to do here. Cool. But it should be his process. It should be their process.
He's going to be the one living there.
Yeah. It's not like whether they make billions of dollars someday or not. Like, I don't expect anything. That's just on them. Kick me back a truck. Cool. That's fine. They took care of Pops. I appreciate that. But it's not for me. I didn't put the work in. I don't have the gift. I'm not the one that's the elite level athlete. It's you. So go out there and do what you got to do. And I'm here to help guide you.
Now, I think the cool kids, though, and all of these kids are cool. I think the one thing you do notice about them, though, is they're probably wearing Shady Rays, Saul. I think there's an excellent chance that they're wearing Shady Rays, because that is what you do see on campus with these kids. Saul Bookman, you have a pair of Shady Rays.
I do.
Excellent, excellent. I've seen Totri wearing his Shady Rays on screen as well. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head over to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Shady Rays. Also, let's say that you're looking to go to a U of A game this year and watch Caleb Love. And you're like, man, this is going to be a really hard time to get a ticket. This isn't like going to ASU to watch a game. I can't just show up there in the last second and get a ticket. Game Time, my friends. Game Time helps you out. Game Time can do a variety of different things. Like our good friend William Brad Alice. He likes going to crummy rock concerts that he needs tickets for. William Brad Alice goes to that. So again, check it out. Take the guesswork out of buying, or hey, take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets, even with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, PHNX, code word for $20 off. Very, very good stuff. Game Time. I have used Game Time before to go to a game. Saul, I assume you have as well.
Yeah, a lot of people I know have. I actually got hit up the last week and said, hey, what's the app that you guys talk about all the time? And I was like, it's Game Time. Use promo code PHNX. You save yourself $20. Save
yourself, and one other one too. And then we're going to get into some more Carter Bryant talk. Desert Financial Credit Union, my friends. Listen,
$200. You guys want $200?
You want $200? Everybody wants $200. And if you do not want $200, then, well, give it to me then. Here's the deal. When you open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses, and you can get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 today. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community. It is for the people, by the people. Desert Financial Credit Union. Check it out. They are a big fan of loyalty, just like this shirt that Saul Bookman has right here.
Yeah, get that stuff in the PHNX locker.
Very, very cool. All right, now, I want to use Carter Bryant as an example of what we're going into here. I just gave him a lot of flowers, a lot of kudos. I expect Carter Bryant to be a first-round pick after 2 years. But this is what I'm also saying. People are like, well, look at Carter Bryant, for example. He's a top 20 player. I do not feel comfortable going into the Big 12 next year if I know that Carter's got to play 30 minutes per game at power forward at 6'8", 190. This is the new era that we are in. I think he's going to be a very good player, but I think that you need that transition year a lot of times when you're dealing with kids like this. That's why you have a Trey Townsend. That's why you have players like this, so you can be able to mold it. Now, if Carter Bryant's even better and ready to go faster, that's awesome. But the freshman physical immaturity factor is something that people I still don't think are quite getting. I think people just get so caught up and wrapped up in the stars. And you guys are smarter than me. I'm not blaming you, but I'm saying people just look and they're like, oh, it's a 5-star. Well, not necessarily. That's not necessarily what we're talking about.
It's because we've been trained our basically our whole recruiting lives to think that 5 stars mean instant impact and also instant NBA prospect, right? And Carter Bryant is an NBA prospect, don't get me wrong, but there is going to be some development, and whether it just depends on how fast that development happens. Some freshmen develop within the first couple months of being on the campus and getting into practices and stuff like that. And that's why they end up starting as a freshman and all this other stuff. And also, like, again, we're talking about physical traits that really stand out. Some take a little bit of time to develop over a course of, time. And they get to the end of the season and maybe, like, look at KJ Lewis. Like, KJ Lewis physically, athletically was good enough to play at Division I, right? But he got better as the season went along because he started to adjust to the game. He understood what was expected of him. He understood the team concept, what his limitations were. And then by the time he got to the end of the season, he was really able to flourish. And that's what you got to hope for with Carter Bryant. Like, I do think Carter is going to be able to be a bona fide contributor to this team.
Agreed.
Now, your expectations need to be just that. Now, if he exceeds those expectations, even better. But if he doesn't, then typically your biggest jump as a college athlete is from your freshman to your sophomore year. And by the time you get to your sophomore year, you're almost a completely different player. Hence the reason why I'm so excited about KJ Lewis in year 2. I think he's going to ball out and surprise a lot of people.
Right. I know. I totally agree. Now, let's look at the rest of this roster, the rest of the makeup of this roster. Like I said, Will Riley, we'll talk about him. That's the next guy they're trying to get for this class. 5-star wing. You'd like another ball. I think you'd like one more ball handler. I think you'd like one more guy that can, because up front, I think you feel pretty good with what you've got. I think that obviously that 4, I think you would like another ball handler to take some of the pressure off. That's where they're going. Saul, what do you see when you look at this roster?
Yeah, I think that's the primary one. I wouldn't mind another, a lengthier wing defender. I think with KJ, Jaden, playing that defensive kind of stopper kind of role, I do feel like a little bit of length would be nice. But I'm grasping at straws on that one. So yeah, definitely a backup point guard for sure.
Yeah, a backup point guard. And again, like when I get the Conrad Martinez, I get people ask me all the time about Conrad Martinez. Conrad Martinez is viewed, and again, if he surpasses expectations, awesome. But he's viewed as a very good practice player, a guy that comes in, and there's always that's fine if that's your 13th guy or whatever. I would not expect Conrad Martinez to really play a ton of minutes in the Big 12.
See, I disagree. I disagree. I'm a big Conrad Martinez guy. I really am, because I do believe that he has tremendous court vision. I do believe that. And I think the reason why he gets knocked is because of his size. But I think that he is gritty and clever enough to be able to hold up in the Big 12. But again, I don't see him on a day-to-day basis. I don't see him in practice. And I don't know what's going to end up happening with him.
I would love to be wrong on Conrad Martinez, because that script writes itself if that does pan out. But yeah,
Conrad's got tremendous vision.
He does. On the team. He's very quick too. He's a savvy player. He's a very savvy player as well. There's a lot to like about him. I totally agree. But
I mean, my Tyler Warden said,
Mr. Tyler Warden
said, Mr. Tyler Warden said he flourished every time he was in the game. Like that's true. Every single time he got in the game, he made an impact, or he did, good things. So I don't know why you wouldn't at least give him a few minutes here and there, just a little bit more than just scrub minutes. I do think he's worthy of it. I think he might surprise a lot of people. Listen, at one point in time, TJ McConnell was laughed at. There was like no way that guy with that size could be able to compete in the NBA. Look at TJ now. Like, I think we need to. I think the day and age of pigeonholing guys because, oh, well, he's 7 foot, so he needs to go down low. Oh, well, they're under 6 feet, so they have to play on the perimeter. I think those days need to go away, because I don't think you necessarily can always pigeonhole a guy into one specific category. I think they can show you more of what they're all about if you give them a chance.
Agreed. One of my biggest pet peeves, though, is 7-footers that allow 6'4" players to guard them, though. Karl Anthony Towns, I am looking at you. There is a point in this is totally off topic, but it annoys me a great deal when a 7-footer is allowing a 6'4" player to guard them. I know what Saul's saying. You want to be able to play all over the place, but that very much annoys me. I will see more of that in the game tonight, I am sure. So we will see that.
Now, balled out last game.
He did ball out last game. I totally get it. But when you're a 7'2" guy and you're going 3 for 22 from 3 or whatever, dude, like Chuck says, get your butt in the paint at some point. Tell me, it just drives me up a wall. It bothers me a great deal, Saul, but that's neither here nor there. All right, now, Anthony Del Orso has been brought up a lot. I like Anthony Del Orso. We need to talk about Anthony Del Orso. This was a very, very shrewd move by Tommy Lloyd. Bringing a guy from Campbell, averaged 20 points per game, shot 42% from 3. That's for the spacers out there, for the spacers. And he's a pretty cerebral guy as well. Here's the best thing about Del Orso and why I think he's going to be a great fit. He didn't demand any playing time. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, I'd love to come there. If I can get on the court, that would be fantastic. But I'm just happy to be part of the program. Dudes like that are awesome, Saul. We need more guys like this.
We need more guys that are going to be selfless for sure. Yeah, and I like Anthony's perspective. I'm excited to see him play. I think he's going to contribute. I think, as a spacer, as a playmaker, his vision is also very, very good. I think he's an odd one to try and have to game plan around because he can do a lot of different things. He could also be a ball handler. Like, let's not take that away either. He could also be a ball handler. He could bring the ball up the court as well. So I think he has listen, man, you went from Campbell to Arizona. Who wouldn't be excited about that? You get to play in front of damn near 20,000 fans every single night in one of the best arenas in college basketball. Like that's going to hype you up in itself. And the expectation that comes along with that will get you ready for the season, because I guarantee you he is putting in the work right now, trying to make sure that the expectations meet the reality of what he can bring to the table.
I also very much like that he's a multi-year player, so that's somebody that you can factor in. That is something that Lloyd did this offseason when he got some of these transfers. By the way, up to 370 lives. Very, very much appreciate all of you. But when it comes to these transfers, Tobe Awaka, talk about giving you a little bit of roster flexibility. He's not going to start this year. Guess what? Trey Townsend moves on after next year. He's going to most likely start. Then you've got Anthony Del Orso. Who knows what his role is this year, but then he's probably I don't know if he'll start, but he's going to have a role. You're bringing in players, Jaden Bradley, same situation, going to be a multi-year player. I think this is the new recruiting we're dealing with, Saul, where we can bring in players that you can bring in the 1 year, the one and done type Keyshawn Johnson, but also you can get multiple years out. It's almost like re-recruiting high school players again when you get the multi-year guys. It's kind of your new JUCO / high school recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such an adjustment. It's you're constantly evaluating and trying to develop your team. And I think this team is set up in a more unique way than last year. Defensively, I think they're going to be solid. I don't know yet if our front court defense is going to be able to hold up in the Big 12 at the degree that you're going to need it to hold up. That's my biggest concern if I had one. When you're looking at Hunter Dickinson in Kansas and some of the other bigs around the country, you're going to have to bring it in the front court. And so can Krivas develop to the point where he's strong? He can block a lot of shots. He can kind of make up for what we lost a little bit in Balo. Not everything, but a little bit. And then if you have a Waka come in and kind of cleaning up the rest, and those two can kind of offset what they had last year, but are far more efficient around the rim and can hit free throws, you've gotten a better front court. So again, it's so hard to predict from year to year what your team is going to be, because you just don't know how players are going to develop from one season to the next, especially when they're going from freshman to sophomore or incoming freshman. So I'm excited, but I'm cautiously excited.
Emmanuel Stephen has been asked about. We will talk about Emmanuel Stephen in just a second, but also, what's going on, boss? What do we got going on at PHNX? Any cool new stuff going on? Anything in the hopper?
No, we just got a lot of takeovers going on. Mercury takeovers. Come check it out. We're going to be watching the Merc play the Las Vegas Aces and Kelsey Plum and Asia Wilson. So buy your tickets today. Get some food. Get some great food, actually, and then some beers on us. And then we'll go watch the game together. I think we're sitting in the 7th row, so we'll be damn near courtside. So it's gonna be a fun time.
Check it out. Check it out. Also, no better time to become a diehard, my friend. See that shirt that Saul Bookman is wearing right there? The loyalty shirt with the A. Saul, come on, put the chest out. Come on, let's see it. That is an awesome shirt right there. You can get that. You can get that at Go PHNX.
Our Discord is growing slowly but surely. It's growing. We got more Wildcats coming in every single day. Don't miss out.
Check it out. It is well worth your time. You can hang out with all of us in there. Check it out. Okay, now, Emmanuel Stephen's been asked about. Here's the best comparison I can give you guys for Emmanuel Stephen. And again, I'd love to be wrong on this. I think he's going to have a Christian Coloco type career trajectory. And there is nothing wrong with that. Because again, he's very, very raw. He's a great shot blocker. He's got a lot of physical skills. It's going to be a numbers crunch minutes. But I think he's also, with big men, they generally kind of develop after a year or two. Look at Coloco that first year. Had a hard time catching the ball at times. Looked a little kind of uncoordinated and whatnot. By the time he became a junior, he was one of the handful of best players in the entire country. country. These are also developmental guys. You go back to, you want to have a nice combination of instant impact guys and developmental guys that you can bank on being there in a year or two. I would not expect a huge contribution from him this year. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't even surprise me if he's going to a red shirt, but the Christian Coloco career arc, that is what I am going with there, Saul Bookman.
Yeah. In today's NIL world, it is very hard to convince a kid to stay, develop, and you'll get your time at some point. Like it's just very hard to do that. So the fact that Tommy found this kid and convinced him that, hey, like this is the path for you. Again, if you lay out the right path in front of a kid and it makes sense, right? Why wouldn't you be on board with it? So I like that time. You do have to have some developmental prospects, because you can't just look at what's happening. And again, I know there's ASU people in the chat right now. I'm not trying to slander ASU whatsoever, but
go ahead.
The developmental prospects that they should have had, they didn't. And they've had so much roster turnover year after year after year. It's like they're resetting every single year. And that's very, very tough to do, especially in the Big 12. And so if you have a couple guys that can fill some spots in case you can't recruit in those areas to develop and perform at a high level, that the fall off isn't as dramatic. So you go from maybe a Sweet 16 team to maybe a first round team, or you go from Elite 8 to a Sweet 16 or whatever, instead of just tournament, no tournament, tournament, no tournament. Like that's just too hard to try and do every year. And
again, I get that it's a totally different era. I totally understand all of that. But look at the 97 team, though. That was a lot. That was a combination of instant impact players. Miles Simon came in and started immediately. Mike Bibby came in and started immediately. But then you had Jason Terry, who had to sit a year. Then you had AJ Bramlett, who didn't play at all as a freshman. You also had Bennett Davison as a JUCO guy. Again, I get it's a totally different era, but it was a nice little combination of instant impact and developmental guys as well. But on that note, all right. Everybody out there, you guys are very, we got up to 393 lives today. Very, very much appreciate all of you. This does not happen without you. You might not be smarter than Saul, but you're definitely smarter than me, and that's why I rely on all of you. But tomorrow we will have Matt Muehlbach on, Mr. Triple Double. What is that guy now? But Saul, before we sign off here, give me your thoughts on the whirlwind that has been the last 24 hours.
In terms of what?
Just kind of sum everything up for me. Caleb Love coming back. What are Saul's expectations? All of that stuff.
I'm excited. I'm excited that Caleb's back. I'm excited that the program is stable, that we will be one of the elite teams in the country again. I think that there's a lot left to prove. As it feels like every single year, like it doesn't matter until you get to the Final Four or win a national championship. Like we got to do that, right? And it's been too long. And I have zero expectations going into the Big 12, to be honest with you. I don't know how this is going to play out. These are new road environments for a lot of us. It's going to be a different vibe. It just, listen, man, we used to, every year you used to watch Big Monday and watch a lot of those Big 12 games because they would be on Big Monday or ACC games. Right. And now
that is an underrated part of this.
Yeah. And now we're there. Like we have become like a primetime program now. And I'm telling you folks, if we do this right and we ball out this year on national television multiple times, you will see this thing turn on its absolute head, and we will get those top tier prospects. Not that we haven't before, but it'll be even more some this year. So I'm excited for the potential of this, but I also know it's going to be a grind of a year. I have no expectations that we're going to be, some 2 or 3 loss team and that's it. Like there's going to be some bumps in the road, but I think it will make us stronger and better once we get to the actual tournament.
That's why he's the boss. He summed it up very, very well. We got up to 405. Very, very much appreciate all of you guys. But on that note, for the boss, Saul Bookman, the great Jacob Franklin behind the scenes, all of you out there, you are absolutely fantastic. Very much appreciate all of you. I am merely Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.